So I'm legally blind if I talk, but I don't look at you in the eyes, and that's why. Lately, it's been kind of interesting because the topic of dreams has been just coming into my life in a somewhat synchronistic way, if you will. So I figured this must be all part of that. I too have experienced that my dreams are often informing me about things that are related to my life. Isn't like that The Dream song? Like you hear that? You're probably curious how I dream relative to my eyesight. I even had a couple out-of-body experiences in the past couple years. I was meditating. So what I've been noticing when I've been asked to talk about dreams, and I have been before, is that when I look back at it, dreams often for me, and perhaps I feel like everyone experiences this, whether they have conscious recollection of it or not. But oftentimes they give you a glimpse of what I might call multi-dimensional consciousness or multi-perspective consciousness. And I'll give you an example of that. Let's say I'm talking to someone in a dream. I'm experiencing that conversation from my point of view while simultaneously experiencing it from their point of view, while at the same time experiencing it from some floating point of view. I don't know, 100 feet away. That's very interesting. The other thing that I have noticed is, yes, there are often times that things that I'm working through mentally show themselves up in a dream. If I'm dwelling on some kind of a story, let's say, that's usually if it's something I'm kind of not able to let go of, it's kind of a thought pattern that's bugging me. Let's say it's about my relationship or about my career or something. Somehow that manifests in the dream. And usually I wake up being like, I gotta let this go. And I do believe that that happens in dreams. Anything that you're kind of holding on to, whether it's emotional or mental, kind of something, a loop that you're stuck in, will manifest. And perhaps that's one explanation I've heard for nightmares, is that oftentimes a nightmare is caused because you already have this emotional fear energy in you. And then as you go to sleep, the mind tries to explain that fear. So whether it's dormant or not. I kind of take my dreams with a grain of salt because I feel like they come from certain levels. Some perhaps come from a deeper level. Others seem not so much. Others seem a little, and a lot of that has to do with the state I'm in, I believe. Perhaps I go to bed and my mind's a little frantic or something. Then the dreams are a little frantic, a little nonsensical, a little silly. I've also noticed that there is a relationship, for me personally, between intention and dreams. And I've been intending, not like a big thing, but just sometimes during meditation or something, to experience teaching dreams that will teach me something. And I have noticed that that has occurred. Now, one way that's manifested, and I do believe this happens in dreams because I do believe that time as we experience it is simply one way of experiencing time. And if any of you are familiar with Einstein's work on relativity, it does seem to indicate that past, present, and future are somehow all happening simultaneously. And that which moment we experience has to do with basically our point of view or our consciousness. It's really mind-boggling stuff. And this is hard science at this point, this whole relativity thing, because the satellites up in space, time runs differently for those satellites than time runs on Earth. And it's not because anything's different with the machinery, it's literally that because of the difference in gravity here. Time runs a little bit faster in space than it runs here. So it's mind-boggling stuff. And so to bring that to my dreams, I've often lately been experiencing me trying out certain decisions, things that I've been pondering about doing, things that and I'll give you a very personal example, because maybe some of you can relate to this. I asked my girlfriend, I told her, I think I want to be in an open relationship. Okay, we had a conversation, we decided, okay, that's what we're going to do moving forward. That very night, I experienced a dream where, lo and behold, we're in an open relationship, and a guy wants to hook up with her. And I get furious. So then I wake up, and basically what the dream is telling me, okay, there's no problem with having an open relationship. Just know that you're gonna have to work through some shit. It's not, it's not gonna be as easy as you think. Anyway, I opted out of the open relationship after that dream. So I would say yes, pay attention to dreams, but I also believe there are certain things in the human psyche that I've observed, certain patterns of dysfunction. Often our minds are, if you've ever dealt with negative internal states, or if you're working on yourself in any way, it does seem like there are certain tendencies built in the collective human psyche. One of those is for the mind to kind of often jump to erroneous conclusions about yourself or about other people. And you might start judging yourself, you might start judging other people, things of that nature. And it takes alertness, it takes vigilance to be aware of these thoughts that are going through your head, so that you can be more present with life, so you can not be subject or at the mercy of the overlay of your thoughts and judgments about yourself and life. And I do notice that sometimes those things come up in my dreams. It's almost as if these patterns have kind of a life of their own. And they can manifest in the dream. And perhaps they might be telling me something about myself, some kind of judgment, some kind of, whatever, something that just makes me feel not good about myself. And if I wake up and I have this idea, well, I have to listen to my dreams, it could be a challenging situation. And I have had that situation where I've woken up, I'm like, man, is this true? Ugh, this is terrible, this doesn't feel good. And you can kind of get stuck on that. So I would say that before just taking every dream as like, okay, I got to find the meaning of it, for me, what I found beneficial is, okay, first, before I even do that, let me just kind of step out of whatever state I might have woken up in. If it's a dream that I didn't like, let me clear that energy first. Let me meditate, let me do some deep breathing, whatever it is, so then I could look back at that dream with a fresh perspective, and I might have a totally different perspective on that. And the perspective I might have is, rather than that dream telling me like, oh, you're this or that, it might just be, be vigilant of this, because this is something that inhibits you in your day-to-day life. For those that don't know, I'm a magician. And I'm going to wrap this up by saying, it can be said, you've probably heard it, maybe you've even heard it tonight, that waking life can be akin to a dream. You probably might have heard of this already, that what we're experiencing now, what we're seeing, this isn't like, there's no objective reality here. This is, what you're seeing is an image created through sensory input. Your senses take this information, an image is formed in the mind, and here you have reality. Now, our reality is vastly different than that of a fly, who perceives reality totally different, vastly different from that of a horse. So different beings are different ways of experiencing this scope of energy. And you're also not going to believe this, but this entire speech has actually been a subtle form of hypnotic induction. Do you guys feel a little spaced out? Good. So now that you're in that state, we can actually have some fun. What is your name? Ty. Ty? Yep. I'll do this. Okay. Make sure everyone can see it. Can you check out that envelope? Is that an envelope? Yes, it is. You want to show it up to the audience so everyone can see? Okay. Feels like an envelope? Feels like an envelope. Great. And I'll take the envelope. And where does it look like the envelope is going? It sure does, doesn't it? Now I'll take that. Okay. And to everyone, where does it look like the card is going? The middle of the deck? Top of the deck? So the hypnotist understands the relationship. The hypnotist understands the relationship between belief and how we experience this subjective reality. See, if you were really hypnotized, I could tell you there's an elephant sitting next to you. And your mind, if you're really deeply hypnotized, you would look over and your mind would take the information that's there, coagulate it in a way that would make you see an elephant. And you would run, you would see, you would smell, you would feel an elephant. So I never gave you an envelope, Ty. I gave you a deck of cards. And I'm not holding a deck of cards, I'm holding an envelope. And you've probably heard the expression that reality is sometimes 180 degrees from what you believe it to be. Wake up. Yes, and inside the pocket, of course, is where I place the deck of cards. Thank you all very much. Thank you, guys.
Out of his Justin's talk, what came up for you? Questions?
Is there anything specific that you tell yourself before you go to bed?
I meditate every night before bed. I do, you might have heard of something called chakras. I do usually a chakra meditation, which is focusing on different energy centers in the body. If you're interested in chakras, you can do a Google search and there's a lot of stuff. Deepak Chopra writes a lot about them. I recommend that as a source. Within that period, where I'm up on my roof, sometimes for a long time, sometimes for an hour, and as I run through this stuff, there often is this kind of processing of the day that happens. I often try to kind of reach deeper levels of myself, and oftentimes certain ideas and things of that come up. And often at a certain point, it is said that if you focus on the third eye chakra, you're more likely to have these more intuitive or insightful dreams. So sometimes I imagine that happening. And like I said, as of late, I've definitely been experiencing a very real correlation and a very real sense of being helped through my dreams, just like the previous gentleman was. And I do feel like that plays a role in it, that intention. I feel intention is the most important thing. You say whatever or do whatever practice feels right to you, but intention is kind of the driving force behind that.
Do you do any breath work with those meditations? I was just wondering, because I like the combination of breath work and meditation, but I was just wondering if you had any insight on that.
Yeah. Breath work is, in my experience, a really great way to get out of your mind. And the more you can get out of your head, I think the better your life is going to be. I think if you notice, if you take stock of your thoughts, you'll notice that oftentimes they really don't serve a purpose. There's certain, I think neuroscientists call it a default mode network. And it's basically what your brain is doing when you're not acting, you're not tasking, or there's something else, there's another something. But it's when you're not like doing anything, often this default mode network turns on, and it's usually associated with just kind of useless thoughts. You start thinking about the past, it doesn't really have any relevance to your life. You might start worrying about the future, it's that kind of stuff. Breath work, or any type of work that moves your attention away from your mind, and breath work is one of those things you can do. Doing that for like a minute straight, they call it breath of fire, I believe. That is a great way to get that attention out of your mind and into your body and feel the energy of your body. So whatever method you find, there are plenty of books, plenty of things of being able to do that more and more. You'll find that as you do that more and more, the intuitive faculties within your life will start to open up on their own, because intuition comes from a deeper level in the mind.
My roommate and I were discussing this morning. Where is she? Yeah, and attention. Yeah, and we saw an Instagram post, and it was just like, it was really, really profound.
Synchronistic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's all about attention.
Where attention goes, neural firing flows, and neural connection grows.
I'm not smart enough to get it, but I love it. I think I get it. Yes, I get it. I'm just kidding. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.